Hello, in this video, we're going to talk about how to use items versus categories in QuickBooks Online. Okay, guys, we're going to go over items and categories in QuickBooks Online, how to use both and what the major difference is for using categories versus items in your bills and expense forms. And just real quick concept here. If you didn't understand what bills and expenses are in QuickBooks and how they impact your financials, bills are what we call posting transactions, which means it impacts the profit and loss statement. Expenses are also posting transactions that impact the profit and loss statement as well. Okay, so the major difference between the two is that, an expense goes out right now. This is money that I'm actually dishing out of my account right away. And a bill is something that I don't pay cash for right away, something I pay cash for later on. But both impact the profit and loss statement the same. Why am I saying this? Because we want to understand, what is my business financial picture? What is my business financial story? If I do things in a way that does not reflect that financial picture on the transaction level, then I will always have information on my reports that don't give me an accurate representation of my business. I'm not getting the true story. Okay, so it's important to know the difference between the two. It's important to know bills versus expenses. It's important to know items and categories in QuickBooks Online. So categories. Basically, categories are chart of accounts. They're mapped directly to the chart of accounts. So if I go to a form, let's say I created an expense form. And I have an expense. Let's say I have a particular vendor here, and I want to map it as an insurance expense that we have. This is a direct chart of account mapping, and we can talk about what we paid for in the description line. We can say whatever the amount was. Boom. And that is a direct impact to the chart of accounts. It's great. It gives us a real insight to what we spent money on with this particular vendor. And for a regular, overhead operational cost, this is fine. But what happens when you have job-related costs? What makes the real difference when you have a job-related cost versus a cost that's just overhead costs? Well, we want to understand exactly what we're paying for. Let's say that I'm providing services for a particular client, or I'm doing a job for a particular client, and I have to purchase materials or hire labor. Well, then I want to know exactly what that is with detail. So the thing that provides the most detail are items. So if you're not familiar with this second side of the form, these are items. Now, items are mapped directly to your products or services. Okay, in order to have these items work, they need to be dual purpose. And what I mean is that it wants to be an income purpose and an expense purpose. So you'll see that the availability on your products and services list to convert these to not only things that I sell, but things that I buy. All right, so you can buy them from your vendors and you can sell them to your customers. They have that duality. By doing this, you can actually map out, how much your job costs are when you're hiring on contractors or purchasing materials directly related to the job. This is what you want to use in this case. Why? Because you get the granularity that you need in your reporting without having to add all these extra chart of account categories inside of your base chart of accounts. All right, so let's take a look at the products and services real quick. Now, in order to have job costing, we're going to focus on the job costing aspect of this versus the general overhead aspect of this. So in order to have the job costing granularity inside of our reporting that we need, we're going to have to set these products and services up in a way where it's going to have that duality that we just talked about. So how do we do that? How do we know? Well, you have different types of products and services. You have inventory, you have service, and let's go here real quick just to get a real good overview of everything that's here. So you have inventory, non-inventory items, services, and then there's something called bundles. But really, these three make up the basics of your products and services. Now, if you don't keep any inventory on hand for specific things, let's say you're just going to go out and purchase maybe some contract labor. Well, that could be an item that's showing up on your product and service list that has both purposes. You know, you're charging your customer for labor and you're also purchasing the labor. That can serve two sides of it, and you can get granularity in your reporting. So you can pick something like this and say labor costs. All right, and then now here's the thing. We can actually choose to check this box that says I sell this to my customers, this product or service. You can add your description. You can whatever rate you're charging per hour. It could be $50 per hour, right? But then, of course, you want to map it to the correct income account. But then on the bottom here, you want to check this box here that says I also purchased this product or service from a vendor. Okay, you can put the description here, same description here. You can put up there and put down here, and you want to map this to your indirect labor costs. If you don't have that on your books already, you can add it directly here. That's what I'm going to do now. This is basically cost of goods sold, really cost of labor. All right, so we can save that and close that. And maybe you're paying $25 an hour for it. All right, and you could choose a preferred vendor if you have one. Let's say you have a major contractor that you use for all your labor work. You can put that there. If not, you can leave it blank. We're going to leave it blank. Save and close. Now, let's say I'm going to do a job, and I'm just going to put the labor costs in here and not anything else. This is going to cost me in labor. I'm going to have an invoice to my customer. I can put labor costs, and you can put maybe 20 hours of labor. Okay? And you can save and close that. But on the flip side of this, for that particular job that you just did, you got billed out for it, right? So you got billed. Let's say it's not as expense direct. You didn't pay up front yet. They billed you for it, and you got to pay later for it, like 30 days later. And you choose one of your main vendors for labor, and his terms is net 30. Let's say you're not paying it right now, you're paying it 30 days later. And now instead of using this category section that a lot of people use, they would just put like labor costs in here, cost of labor, cost of goods sold. That's what they would normally put here. But no, you could actually map this more distinctly inside of the items details. You put here labor costs, and then you can also put that 20 hours if they did the full 20 hours, and also you can attach it to your customer here. So now you have this granularity. You know how many hours you paid in labor, you know what the rate was, you know what the amount was. You can even provide the description in here for what you paid for, and it gives you all the detail that you need. So what does this really do? If we come to reports, you do a profit and loss report for today. On your main reports, it'll give you this, basically this gross profit and net profit based on this activity that was just completed for today, right? And this is what you really want to see. You want to see, what did I really make, really gross profit wise if I'm getting within my margin targets. Let's say you have a 60% gross margin target and you hit this, which is 50%. Well, you're below that target, right? You can make the adjustment. You can maybe negotiate with new vendors or increase the amount of revenue that you're charging for the job to make sure that you're in line with your job costing and your margin targets, rather. The other thing is you can go here. We can pull a report that if you display columns by products and services, you'll be able to see exactly what it was that you are spending your money on inside of this to greater detail. All right, so you know that you spent labor costs. All right, labor costs is exactly what you brought in, and then you spent this much on labor costs. Now, if you had more items here to account for within that job, it would display all of these items across the line. All right, and this would be the total amount that you would have brought in versus what you had had in direct costs, and then your gross profit, and then after the bottom line is your net profit, your net income. Okay. Now, if you're using categories in QuickBooks Online, it's probably not giving you the best reporting options. It's not really reflecting your business the way that you want it to, the way it is intended. It's something for you to look at. If you have not been using items, I encourage you to open up the door to use those things. If you have any questions about how to do this inside of QuickBooks, how to set it up, how to really get it done inside of your business, you can leave a comment or reach out to us via email or on our website. All right, guys. Thanks for watching.